Well, welcome back to the ITAM kitchen, the place where we have actually that kitchen chat, be able to put us in place and how we move that forward. As far as we all friends right here, right? It's the morning activity. It's what we do. We have it. Well, do you think about it? Well, actually, we do. We geek out on asset management. As far as talking about breakfast, just kind of like that breakfast chat, right? You wake up in the morning, how are we going to chat about what that next step is? That's where we're actually been having a lot of fun. And today's session, just to kind of jump into that, is really about, okay, when we're getting a new job, what are we doing? What's that next step? How are we going to discover? We have specific scenarios we're working through, and we will further extend that. Today's about the 30, 60, 98 plan. So a few things before we kick off and dig into that. First of all, my name is Bill, Mr. Bill. Recovering IT practitioner, asset management, software asset management, configuration management. I haven't done it a lot, but it's being able to say, okay, how can we help enable others? That's the whole idea here behind the kitchen for that next step. So when we do that, we also have a couple of guests here. I have Deanna Henniger, who's been around, and I won't say we're experienced, but let's say we're seasoned, right? That's the best way to put it on that part, how we put that in place, as well as Rob Collins. And we all have different levels of expertise. That's what makes this a lot of fun, because we look at things from multiple perspectives. This is the master class you're looking at. And the reason why we're doing this is because you think about that certification you got, the training, et cetera. I'm not saying you shouldn't get training. You absolutely should. But you got it. Okay, you got the exam a little bit for what it was worth. I've been told it's rudimentary. Okay, fine. But how do you actually apply it? How do you help identify, if you get an asset management role in this case, how do you start thinking about that next step? Because right now you're on point, and it's very important on that side as you think about that. And that's what we're leveraging, our knowledge to look through a specific use case. And that's where it's fun. It's like asset management fun. Absolutely. I absolutely say it's been that fun for 30 years, and I'm never going to stop. This is my thing, right? I'm not looking for a PhD or anything, even though I probably have a PhD doctorate in it, as much as I've done. We probably all do, right? But I'm not looking for the certification. I'm not looking for that accreditation. I'm looking to say, okay, how can we help enable others that next step? Because we start doing that, make it happen. I appreciate all the direct messaging I've been feeling, I've been receiving. Please keep that on coming, because again, this is about you. So you may not be here live. If you are, please put yourself in the chat, where you're from, what you're doing, what keeps you up at night, because it's going to help us with topics, whether it's for today or upcoming sessions. And from that standpoint, be able to the next step. So as we dig into that, back to our scenario, right? We've been talking about a CFO-led savings. So all the cuts down, explain later. We've been told up front that we find savings within 90 days, our staff gets cut. Didn't say how severe, but we'll say cut, right? And we have to say we've seen things like this in the last year, just within our roles alone, right? Okay, if you're not stepping up, provide value, what are you? And being able to put that in place. So if you think about how we're putting this in place on Monday, we said we have a whole scenario we're tying around. We know maturity levels, etc. But we said, okay, what do we need to find? What do we need to triage? That's what Monday was about. And from that, we determined, okay, we have some systems that are just not fully integrated. That's the best way to put it. Procurement, Wild West, not unusual, right? P-card crazy. We have integrations that's like haphazard. I'll just put it that way, right? We have stakeholders that are just not fully aligned. It's like, okay, we need it, but they're kind of, it's backroom operation versus something forward-minded. And tool sets. Yeah, we got tools. Tools have tools. We also know fools with the tools are fools, still fools. It doesn't matter, right? And on Wednesday, we talked about stabilization. How are we looking at the bigger picture? How we pull this in? And we outlined very distinctly how we were doing that. And from that, we determined, okay, what kind of conversations we need to have. And one of the results from that was collaboration. That was kind of the dialogue as a whole, right? And being able to say, how you look at that, and this one was from the sponsorship perspective, which would be a sponsor themselves, the executive sponsor, or from the stakeholders. That dialogue is critical. and being able to put that in place. And it's like, okay, how can you look at savings? Everybody says savings. Well, great. Let's figure out what the savings are, but make sure we keep our topics on point. We actually did go through. We had a little tangent here and there on Wednesday, which was great. But it's also because this is not unusual for these discussions. Either calling in, they want to talk to us now. There you go. It's awesome. It's great when people want to speak to us all the time. So how do we work through this, right? How is the next step? How do we put expected results? So on my side, yeah, I got a little bit of head cold. I started traveling, got a head cold. I have the best of all worlds here. I actually am in San Diego right now. You're seeing it inside the hotel room. It was like, I got a head cold on top of it. So I'm in a gorgeous location, have friends around, all around, but hey, what the heck? I have to mix it up a little bit, but we're still going live, even though I'm on the move and have a little other challenging activities of myself. But being able to say, okay, how do we work this forward? So when you start thinking about the 30, 60, 90-day plan, let's just dig into that, because I think really when we dig into this is going to consume the entire hour, just out of the gate, right? Because at this point, we've done stabilization, we have talked about the topics, said, okay, we're having a dialogue. And keep in mind, it does not happen one day. I'm just going to go ahead and qualify that right now. It does not happen one day. But it's no but. It's just, it doesn't happen one day. You have to have the dialogue, and sometimes that can be like up to a month, a couple of weeks. You try to streamline it. Executives say, well, I need to have it 2 weeks. Like, that's great, but so-and-so's out of town. It happens, right? All the time. And this is also where you can leverage your collaboration. The collaboration, say, okay, what else can I do? Get those prioritizations right, be able to align it. And from all this information, stabilization, so including talking to your stakeholders, understand the data, what's happening, what's not happening, how it can need to do work some of the integrations. We talked about that. It's also being able to say, what's the source of truth? What do we really need to focus on versus spreadsheets? Right? And be able to say also, how are we going to increase our maturity? Because it's not going to happen overnight. Because we have to stage it in. We're educating everyone. That's part of stabilization. We're educating. Right? That was one of the outcomes we had from that. Even from the integration, okay, which one we can head forward first? I think we came from an outcome, just a dialogue. Procurement, let's hit that. Out of the gate, it's kind of a quick win, right? So let's leverage some of our findings on that. We talked about procurement. We talked about discovery. Okay, how they better align a little bit. The reason why you need both. Well, we definitely talked about it the last couple of days. So the 30, 60, 90-day plan, what comes to bear? What comes to mind, that first thing we need to focus on? So I'm going to take some notes here. Like I said, I'm in a different environment. I don't have my big smart board right behind me, but I'm going to take some notes as we go. But Rob, Deanna, what comes to mind? Where you want to start?
Sure. First, just a brief introduction. I'm Rob Collins, and I've got 30 plus years experience working from the military and state government and prior consulting around IT asset management and a variety of other interrelated fields over that time. And Deanna.
Basically, I'm going to start with, I started out with doing training, documentation, then moved into ITSM, then ITAM, and I just really enjoy the volume of work we have always gives us something to do. We're never bored in this business. And that's why we feel we have the ability to help you at this master class to apply what you've learned in the past. And we are now in the apply stage.
So I guess to speak then to Bill, you were talking about, at this point right now, we've identified those pain points in the last session. And one of those that came to mind really quickly, and especially if you've got to put something together and you want to get the 30, 60, and 90-day plan, just to get these things in and get that value quickly. One of the first things that I've thought about was looking at the SaaS risk, right? And addressing shadow IT. There are a handful of tools out there that are just remarkably good at surfacing where the SaaS applications are within your organization. Now, to that, right, how you get those shadow applications, typically your employees are given P cards so they can handle their expenses and take things on, buy tools, etc., right? But you got to put a little governance in place behind that, right? The governance is going to take time, as you indicated. So that'll be a little bit further down the path, but not too far. but finding and implementing a SaaS tool that's just very rapidly going to scan the environment and through a variety of different discovery methods will surface how much there is. And then from there, you can associate the cost so you know what the bleed is, how much, and you can immediately start recognizing that. That's one of the first things that comes to mind. But there are so many others. Diane, Dan, sorry. What's your thoughts?
As we know in the industry, you can't you can't count what you don't know, but you still have to pay for it. And that's one of the difficulties we have, especially in the P card risk and with our shadow IT. And so even if you're on a software project, you have to know your hardware, because if you don't know your hardware, you will not know how much software you really have out there. And that's where you get a lot of your bleed for not understanding what's going on out there. Hi.
Making notes as we go.
Your baseline.
Yeah, I'm showing you a baseline. You have to look at that.
And then one of the other areas is there's so many people resistant to change. They know they need to change, but they're not interested in doing the work it takes to change. So that is one of the other considerations we have, is what about the people, even within the 30 days. Once you identify that, I've seen projects dragged on because they don't want to change. So all your different silos are causing a problem because they won't go to meetings.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second too, because assessing the team that you actually have doing the work is also really has to be done fairly early.
Yep.
It could be you're in one of those organizations that just hasn't viewed ITAM very much, as something of value. They haven't got the audit letter, they haven't run into those problems yet. So I think one of the next first steps, right, is to sit down and evaluate who's working on it. How many people do you have dedicated? In my experience, I've seen, unfortunately, a large number of organizations that only have a single resource, one person dedicated to all of ITAM. And it's not beneficial to delegate that to just an individual.
Right.
SaaS, just overall ITAM is a lot more important than that. It interfaces with your InfoSec, your finance is directly involved, and then of course the security of your data and everything else about your company. Kind of, if you don't have a view into that, you really do need to either hire somebody, get a firm together that you can call in a contractor to come in and do that, or sit down and invest in a team of people to do it and start listing out the risks that these team members are going to mitigate, because this is really one of the only places where the value is understood with this. And so once you get that idea that, oh my goodness, we really should be addressing this, and that's when you want to form a team. In a very, very small company, 5,000 people, figure a 3-person team. It's very simple. It's not that many people. You can train them up to speed, get people that are already technically savvy so they understand why, and put those in place. And for that, what you're going to want is you're going to want to have like an ITAM captain or a team lead on that, right? And then somebody that specializes in the hardware and the software. Those are the first basic 3 that you need to put together. And I figure you can get it done most places for anywhere from like 50 to 70K per person, and then give the team lead an additional percentage above that, sort of to keep them in the role and interested. So that's the first piece of it. And then of course, once you've identified the people and what they're going to do, then it's time to sit down and research those additional tools if you don't have them. One of the basic principles.
So I think we're jumping ahead just a little bit, aren't we? Because we need to really look and take a look at we've done some of the stabilization of it, right?
Yeah.
It's also being able to say, okay, well, let's further understand and work with those team members to say, okay, have that collaborative discussion to figure out, okay, what are those next steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our other team members.
Go ahead.
A lot of our other team members are part of the service management side, and we really need to know what's going on with the incidents. Are they putting their incidents in to become problems where they're just leaving the instance sit there. That's where it takes somebody more on our level to go, well, how many times did this fail? How many of them are failing? Because there are many things we need to address within the hardware, software, and the asset management system, because we feed right into the service management.
Yeah.
That's where our history is.
We do. And that's where it was. That's the reason why I was going to speak up a little, because I think we definitely we're in charge at this point. This is our baby, right? So, and if you're typically on this type of activity, right, that you're saying, okay, we're going to cut costs. When you talk about trying to hire outside firms, that's typically not an option, right? That's what was going through my brain on that part, right? So it's like, if you're trying to find more budget, there is none to give, right? Unless you're going to give it your job, you're working for you, right? It's some of the challenges. That's where I was thinking of that. But to your point, identify the risk, identify, okay, those quick wins. I think that's also quite important, because when you start, to your point, the collaboration, figure out, okay, where are you kind of going that next step? To be able to say, okay, who's involved? And that's a specific where I was going with, so procurement, team members, etc. But with what we have in this scenario, because we know maturity is low, right? So what's one of those quick wins? I mean, I just identified team members, resources this, but what would be a quick win we could do in addition to team members within the first 30 days for this one?
Yeah, for sure.
What comes to mind?
Reporting also. Okay, we've got it. Maybe they're not getting the reports. They don't understand what their visibility is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And to that point, identifying the external stakeholders that you can begin to work with at this stage, so that you can start identifying and sort of uncovering and discovering, let's say, financial activity, purchases, where those are, how they're stored, how you can interface, how you can take that information and put out a periodic report like every 30 days. That's a good place also to get moving.
Absolutely.
P card.
It's also about, now, with the reporting requirements, let me ask a question on that, Deanna. Is there idea to get the requirements or to understand what reports are coming today?
Well, what reports are coming today and whether or not they're serving our needs. Some people just do reports because, I think this is pretty. No, we need to give them raw data or not raw data. We need to take the data and be able to put it into information. Raw data doesn't necessarily give them the information what they need. So then we have to put the data and create information. And that information will tell us if we're hitting the mark or not. And then we need to refine to hit the mark for our spends.
That works. Okay. That also helps identify who you're talking to, right?
Yeah.
Those stakeholders, how you move that forward. It also works from the data, right?
We can also see where our processes aren't working correctly. Where are the gaps? What teams aren't talking to other teams?
Yeah. That might be a 60-day thing, but
Okay.
I do believe that you're right, though,
Yeah.
on points about discovering those processes and just getting them together. Are they recorded? Is this, how you say, an information sort of like transfer? New people coming in and learning on the job before the old person or the person is leaving is about to move on.
Yeah. And a lot of companies nowadays, they don't bring in the new person till the other person's already been gone for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you just lost all
That's
sorts of
right.
institutional knowledge that way.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's a great point. That's great, because it's all about the people, process, technology, right? The governance. Maybe the first 30 days, I know you mentioned about it, maybe I just didn't capture it. You're talking about governance.
Yeah.
Just identify what governance is in place. or
Yeah. I mean, any governance, I'd say, is in place, and then any that may be needed. And it's totally okay if you don't have it and don't know it, because during this stage of the game, you can also reach out to external consultants and or other people, peers in the industry, to say, "Hey, Bob, how are you doing XYZ? For your ITAM program, because we want to stand one up." And you can get input that way too. And then, but that's what you want to do, is you want to kind of get an idea of what the governance should look like versus what you've got already in place. And then 60 days is going to be to how do you say, to develop that governance.
Develop it out, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I always look at governance. You always have to look about every 3 days anyways. Now, I'm curious with situations like these, I'm just curious about thought. I always like to maybe also need to put a mission statement in place, what we're doing with ITAM. So we're able to put that within the organization, because typically it's not in there. It's like, asset management's occurring, but
yeah.
Like, okay, so further refine what it is. Maybe need to put that in the first 30 days as well.
That could be, yes, any place between the first 30 and the first 60. But you're right about that. Absolutely. Okay. Put a mission statement together so that as you're building this working group and moving forward, you set some expectations and some boundaries around what you're going to do. It's like this, it's so easy to go down rabbit holes. Another thing that one could do, for instance, is establish a formal project around it and assign it to a project manager. Now, that project plan could be built out over the course of anywhere from 30 to 90 days, right? So that you can engage, but really keeping it reined in and keeping it on track is really important. Yeah.
I'll put if possible, if available.
So
what I find is when you start doing cutbacks, project managers are one of the first ones to be let go of the entire organization.
That and training.
Why? Somebody please, offline or in the chat, tell me why that happens. Why?
Very good point. But I'm just saying that's typically the case, right? Mm-hmm. Typically they're the first ones to go. You outsource them. It's like, we're going to do it from someone else. You'll offshore them. I see it all the time on that side.
That happening.
You have to also continually evaluate yourself, because you're making changes and other people may not understand why you're going to wait 60 days for a change and why you're going to implement a change immediately. And they may say, well, why can't we wait for 3 more months on that? Because everything has to change at this point. We have no choice. We have no idea what knowledge may have to be forced out the door as well. But people...
True. So with this one in particular, as we're thinking, I think 30 days we've got, because if we're going to do, we're brought in to solve this problem. We have our hands full just forms. Right? We've got 10 bullets here, I think. Red bullets. So what we do then? Hey, Curtis, good to see you. We got governance. I share that one real quick.
I can see that. Oh, very good.
Governance tends to need to come from an understanding of ITAM supporting business process. Absolutely. I find that quite a bit can be learned by what you're dealing with, what you're looking at in current ITAM relevant service processes. Absolutely. Because my comment every time is, the executive says, we don't have ITAM processes. I said, you do have ITAM processes. Do what? Yeah. If you didn't have somebody doing ITAM one way or another, you would not be in a business today.
Right.
There's no way.
Got to buy stuff.
It may not be documented. You may be haphazardly doing it. But you have something, right? So complement and build upon it. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another thing we could include between 30 and 60 days, that alignment exercise that we brought up in the past, for instance. Take your business objectives, right? And you align those, or really it goes the other way around. But starting, let's just say from the business objectives, what do you want to accomplish with the business? How do you support that from an IT perspective? And then how do you support that from an ITAM perspective? And if you do that alignment exercise, it may take you a little bit, but this gives you an idea of what you want to have in place. So yeah, that alignment
Yeah,
exercise.
you're
I
right.
think,
That is between the 30 and 60. It's kind of a blend between this. It's probably going to take 60 days to complete that. But
Right.
you probably start that with that time.
And then from there, you start looking at whether or not you have tools in place to do that. That's a 60 to 90 day sort of time frame. And in some cases, because I just did a quick search because my first thought was around the SaaS tools. And all I said, and I know a few of them that I absolutely love for what I've seen them do and how much value they show very quickly, right? And I'm be happy to answer that like offline sometime. But the list is a pretty good one. And the idea was from this scenario and SaaS, it's like, what's going to surface the SaaS, right? I want to see it all. And then from there, let me parse out my shadow IT. And then, because that's where that value comes from. And some of these that have been listed, for instance, they develop, you can have information ready within a week. And implementation doesn't take that long either. Implementation can be anywhere from a week to, let's say, 2 months, depending upon the intensity of the tool and the detail. Oh, that's a great comment from Chris.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
If you're starting with something you are already doing.
If anybody has any additional comments, put in there, please. Keep contributing. That's the whole idea. How can we collaborate?
Yeah.
So with the 60-day, this is actually where I think we can start working with the tools and the teams, right? For example, say we were talking about P-card, right? P-card, it's all across the board. Maybe start talking to procurement and say, okay, see what we can do. Put some restrictions about P-card, about which categories they can actually purchase, right?
Policy to
Say
support.
you're buying computers, SaaS. Yeah. What's that?
And then policy to support that, because
Right.
that's what you really want to address. First wave is, hey, I got people buying software all over the place. Like, hey, okay, well, you have to report it, or you have to ask for authorization first. Then you start following up. Once you do that, then you start identifying all those gaps and all those problem areas. Then you can go back to policy to say, hey, we noticed a lot of you people are buying software and you're not asking for approval and you're not, so we need to improve the audit frequency, for instance, of those transactions, at least monthly, and then we have to address it. And then that extends to so many other things, like another AppRat exercise, which we'd also talked about in the past.
We need to make sure that they're recording these P-card purchases, every single one, because we may not, some of the software may not be allowed in certain environments as well.
Yeah. Very true.
Actually, I would say capture and review.
Right, because what if their license isn't valid in our environment? There's some corporations that
Exactly.
That trips the compliance trigger.
Compliance, because maybe they bought a site license and they're in the wrong location.
Mhm.
I mean, there's many things to software people don't realize any longer.
From a global perspective, it's a big deal.
That's right.
Absolutely. So we go down to the P-card part of it. I would also say this is also where you can start refining your procurement to start reviewing that data as far as how the procurement, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing to add in there. In 60 days, you begin building out the workflows for that and assigning responsibility and accountability for that.
And the reason why you want to do this better earlier, again, this is one of the quick wins is the P-card procurement. But realize this is one of the hardest things to an organization as well, because they're used to just doing things. They've had their process, they've done it for a while. Procurement doesn't like to change. It's like, once it's in there, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is, they don't like to change. So having that discussion, it's more than one discussion. I'll just make sure we clarify that is this is okay, we start talking about the data, refine it, you have that additional support, you have additional support from your other stakeholders. That makes the discussion much easier, because it means, oh, wow, okay, well, we can help the rest of the organization. Procurement and vendor management will look at you much differently with that. Especially we can help them in their reporting too, because if it's haphazardly being purchased, you catch that on this one. They don't know how to report it either, any more than you do.
That's why we have preferred vendors that have to go into we need approval from a company to be a preferred vendor.
You should be doing some level of vendor management.
Absolutely.
And if you're not, there's another area you could expand on.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yes, geared by the meatball there. Again, I was thinking about procurement because it'd be a quick one, right? Maybe there's other things we can look at. We love it. We're still moving to figure out technology here. We're in remote locations. We're having fun, having the collaboration, moving forward. So procurement's one. Should we also start looking at discovery and see what's coming in from that standpoint too, within the first 60 days?
I
Discovery
think
data?
so.
Yep.
Might as well. Just anything at all that's coming in, classify it and sort of give it a review panel, if you will. Just a small team to come in, or the same team that's doing this process.
Yep.
To say, all right, let's look at prioritizing these, and then coming up with a plan to or workflow to address them.
Also, within the 60 days, we could start seeing about our joiners, movers, and leavers. See if our HR is also capturing who is actually working for us.
Yeah, and service desk, because they follow up on that in order to provide the tools and the
Joiners,
software.
movers, and
Yeah.
leavers.
Yep.
Employees, yeah.
One more time on that.
One
more time on that.
Oh, yep. Who has joined the company?
Mhm.
So they call them joiners. Who's moved from a different department? And then leavers, who has left the company?
Yep.
Leaver, L-E-V, there we go.
Yep.
Oh,
Leavers.
there we go. Leavers.
This head
Yep.
cold, it makes it rather interesting right now. So
Right?
you're totally fine. Yeah,
I thought
exactly.
it was your
Yeah,
microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, go figure. Yeah. Yeah, no, if it wasn't for my voice coach, I wouldn't even have a voice this much. So you're good. Yeah. Oh, you learn about a lot of things when you go live. Okay,
Yeah.
so when we start working with this, being able to say, how do we further refine that, right?
7:36.
Okay.
Are we now looking to, say, eliminate redundancies? Or is that in 90 days?
That could be anywhere from 60 to 90.
90
If you identified that stuff within the first 30 to 60 days, then yeah, it would just follow on. Identify redundancies.
Yeah.
One more time.
Reorganize, restructure, refine operations now that we have the information there.
Yeah, I would say that's probably between the 60 and 90. I agree.
And then in, say, 90 days, we are now being able to address some of our policies and procedures, how they're going to be changing. So we can discuss it with our personnel.
No, we didn't create so we talked about governance, refining governance. I should define actually. Okay. But you're right. There is now going to be a monthly governance board.
Should be. At least for a little while until you have your governance locked down. Then you can move that out to annual or quarterly or what have you.
So Curtis has some information around the CMDB.
Oh, okay. Where are we going? Good catch. Excuse me. See, regarding CMDB, the basic scope of the assessment needs to be useful early on. Reasoning is once business establishes the asset management priorities, then they can dictate CMDB scope changes. That never happens. I don't know what you're talking about, Curtis. It never happens. They can dictate the CMDB scope changes. Absolutely, to determine experience management. It can be guided, governed, regarded specific data that needs to be managed inside the CMDB. Absolutely.
Well, to that too, remember that the CMDB is for the configuration of assets. It's not an asset management database, and there still needs to be the distinction there. So establishing an asset management database handles everything from life to death, from spec all the way to the end. But CMDBs, they don't handle it like that. They only handle it when you've configured an item, right, and you've put it in a role or function, and then it does that. If you change that role for that item, that's a new configuration path.
Yeah.
And the CMDB thing, I know it's pushed because of everybody's, favorite ITSM tools and whatnot. But again, that's from an operational standpoint, not an asset management standpoint.
That's a good point. And I just added to that point, that last bullet with the first 30 days, clarity of the roles. I think we do need to have clarity between what you're going to be doing for ITAM, same and CMDB. At that point, they need to be tightly linked. They need to be tight and work together, but also back to the point. I think it's a great discussion because then you can figure out, okay, who needs to work with what changes as you put that. And that's also going to be part of your governance. As you forward your governance meeting, those roles can say, okay, who needs to make changes? And this is where everyone steps up steps up to the plate. I'll just put that way, right? Like baseball. You're gonna step up to the plate and actually you start performing because you realize, oh, well, I'm kind of accounting for this. Yes, you are. Right. Now I love having the CMDB chat. I totally love this because you're right. That's typically how people think. Oh, well, let's see to me, you'll be online in 30 days. We hear it all the time. Some of the vendors, all the time, right? Now it's time to say, okay, you do it. There's a reason why we need to do a redo, right?
Include AMDB in that last line there.
We may have to identify a redo need for some of the data.
That's it. That point within the 30 days, include AMDB behind them there because there is a distinction and everybody seems to get it wrong. And then they wonder, why is my CMDB inaccurate? And other various problems with that. It's not the same. You have two different audiences, two different sets of data for two different purposes.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So as you're looking through that, it's just like clarity. Clarity of data. Some people say, well, it's part of the same system. It is, but if you don't have that clarity, you're duplicating. I was just talking to somebody just in the last week, sometime this week. I don't remember who it was. It was about, I was getting a text about some asset management changes happening during change management. It's like, you should not be having it within the CMDB. It's like, that should be within the CMDB, right? It'd be very clear. Okay, Curtis had a good point there.
But the other thing too, why that's happening is because CMDB is the thing that's being pushed by the tool providers. It's the thing that supports your troubleshooting, your incident and problem management, right, and your change management. That's where that supports, and that's how it does it.
Absolutely.
That is, we've had some discussions about that. We should bring it up again.
Oh yeah, totally.
So
totally. And the discussion's not going to go away. So if you're fearful of having that discussion, you need to be prepared for it because it will happen. It's not ego or anything like that. People they're unaware. I'll just call that. They're unaware. Because of just how it's communicated and just the mix match. There's not a lot of thought leadership on that. Right. As far as with the clarity, we're probably more thought leadership, but we've talked about it here more than anywhere else I've seen.
We need more of that in the industry.
We do. But that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea behind the co-op. Let's forward, right? Let's do it exactly that.
Within the 90 days, we can now optimize technology use. Because we've gotten to the point where we've already recognized what's going on. And then we may actually be able to relocate personnel where they're more effective. And that's restructured team, never mind. It's already up there.
Well, but this is the 90-day part of that after we've done all the actions above. One of those, for instance, might be to identify any tool gap that there may be to support those processes. And in the 90 days, you then begin to address the tool gap. You decide, all right, I need an asset management system because everything else doesn't do it quite right. And then I'll need to, and then the next stage is my asset management system now needs to plug into my ITSM. So that I can draw the data this way, assign those configuration elements as those rules change. And then you can also start to go and look at the rest of these things that are going to bring back those quick returns. The idea is it's self-funding, and you're supposed to actually establish a decent ITAM system during these processes.
Yeah. And then to add on to that, we also want to eliminate redundancies.
Yep.
Okay, how many tools are doing the same thing? When we can buy one tool, pay less amount of money, is a little bit of a learning curve for some people, but we need to reduce our spend.
Yeah. Application rationalization is part of that exercise. Yeah. So it goes across all your software, but particularly your tools. I don't need 5 tools to do the same thing, even though everybody has their favorite. That goes back to governance.
Yeah.
If you have a tool you want to use and make a proposal, there should be an approval and a review process for that.
Correct.
Then make a decision, and then level the tool set, whatever the fund.
The tools, yeah.
The cost savings
Let me
there
ask
too.
a clarity question. For the application rationalization, I think there's a terminology where you're mixing them, right? Because people look at that from 2 different angles.
Okay.
I think application rationalization, we're talking about, we're actually seeing software installations, right?
That's right.
And we're seeing like multiple versions of Microsoft project. We also have the bigger application rationalization happening within the infrastructure, right?
Yes.
And you've got to make sure that you don't bite off more than you can chew with that application rationalization discussion, because they get intermixed all the time.
Is that more of a fit for purpose?
You need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Is that more of a fit for purpose discussion? Like whether or not what you've decided your tools in place are fit for all of the necessary processes? Because an AppRat exercise can be leveraged across the board. This could include all of my tools for PowerPoint, all of my tools for making PDFs. It could also go as high as if each cost center has their own inventory systems, find the one that works best and say, all right, we're going to do this, and give me some reason why it won't work. You know, give me some justification why we've got to have another tool.
Yep.
Because not only do you have the cost of the tools and implementation, but you also have the cost of maintenance going forward, a subscription, if it's a cloud-based tool or SaaS. So there's a lot of cost savings that comes out of that. Sometimes those cost savings alone could fund your entire activity.
And a lot of these items that we talked about now come because of mergers and acquisitions.
Yep.
Absolutely. Or just no standards.
Right.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's in an application rationalization. What I did on that last time, I said the initial analysis, because there's a 10,000 employee company. This might be a big effort, and there's no way you're going to be able to say it. You're just going to be able to look at discovery data. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quick dashboard from that standpoint. Say, by the way, we have application rationalization, Mr. Executive or the governance team. I don't know what you want to do with it, but it's not on my plate. You just provide help for that next step, right? Yeah.
Well, but to that point, you know, somewhere within the first 30 to 60 days, you can begin doing that. You know, if you've got discovery in place and you're getting to the point where you've got good data around your inventories and your software, et cetera, then you have enough that you can begin those exercises. And a lot of cost savings can come from that. I don't know if we need to add a bullet.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's necessary to add a bullet point. I think it falls within the activity in the first 30 days, actually.
Well, we're reviewing the tools and the data.
Yeah.
Do you want to put it up here?
Yeah, sure.
Where's discovery data project up here?
It ought to have been discovery or inventories. Your baseline. Understand your baseline.
Yeah.
So it could.
Yeah, because they're doing the data in the 60 days.
Yeah, review, refine.
Yeah, let me throw that down there. Because what I see happening is for the 36 days, you have your governance meeting. At that point, you're helping identify here's where it is.
Yeah.
And from there, it'll be happening in the next 60 days because you have to assign it to the rest of the team, whoever we do it.
And then that feeds into
Again, this is a
reporting.
task that application rationalization you want to be careful, very careful about.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you just totally increase the scope of your entire effort.
It could. If you're looking for those quick cost savings, that's one way to get there. And again, in some cases, it can fund the program.
It could. The challenge I've had with that is you have really large enterprises doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, and they're told by this whole vendor application rationalization. They combine that with software asset management. Well, software asset management is going to help my application rationalization, right?
Yeah.
And they all of a sudden morph and say, well, it's going to do all the savings. Like, guys, you need to figure out what you have first before you figure out what you're going to rationalize, right?
And how you're using it.
And that's where I was coming from. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy how quickly that could just morph on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had, when I was a CMDB owner, I had the application management guy, the APM, application portfolio management guy. I said, yeah, I need it for that. It's like, that's great, but we're not that far yet. I don't even know what the users have yet. So, again, we're giving kind of an outline. This is not perfect. So let me put a little disclaimer on that. It's not perfect, but it's being able to say, here's what you need to think about, right? And for everyone's listening. Because this, you're seeing us move things around because this literally depends upon the environment. You may have to move it up and down all around. That's how this works. It's not where it's scripted 1, 2, 3, 4. Not in this case, right? Because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
By 90 days, we should have a grip on our life cycle of our products as well.
Yeah. Within the 60 days.
Maturity.
Yeah, maturity of. Yeah. Do we have a large amount of end of life or end of service equipment? Can we get rid of it?
Well, yeah, that does. Again, that's another one of those things that this leads to is get your IT asset disposition
disposal position
processes examined and then in place.
Well, it could be that. It could also be from software, et cetera. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and definitely for software after you do the other exercises, because you want to take the extra costs out. That's the whole point. And refine the reporting around that. Yep.
Yeah, you refine the reporting. This is also where I say the 90 days is also where it's between 60 and 90. You're also establishing those KPIs and metrics that you're going to measure ongoing, right?
Yeah.
That's part of your governance. Because the way I think about it is initially, okay, the first governance meeting, and I'll literally say the first one, right? Here's helping the meet and greet. The second one is, okay, I now can understand what's happening. The third one is you're actually saying, you're starting taking measurements and saying, okay, how well are we operating or are we not? And you have that congruence happening at that point.
Look at all this. It hasn't even been a full hour. Look at the value here. Look at the value.
I know. Look at that.
KPIs, and then also we want to establish what our critical success factor, our CSF, what does that look like?
Well, wouldn't that be part of the first 30 days or maybe the 60 days?
Yeah,
after you've got an idea what you got?
Yeah.
You want 30 or 60 on that one? I agree. It needs to be further up.
I'm thinking 60, but
yeah, because we have there's so many other things in front of that.
yeah.
But now let's see what we're going to be successful.
That's actually a great point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm good. That's a great point. Is you have to watch out of your own overwhelm factor at this point. You kind of see it happen. We're moving things around. Right? You need to say, okay, what's possible, what's not. Because what is it? You're going to overestimate how much you can do in a short period of time and underestimate how you can do it long term. Right?
Long term, yeah.
It's just that's life. So don't think you're any different than anybody else. But it's being able to say, okay, what can actually get done?
Yeah. You know, and to that point, somewhere between 60 and 90, you could start pulling your financial analysis, right? Your cost benefit analysis, your total cost of ownership, stuff like that. These are the kinds of things that finance departments should already be doing, or operations in conjunction with finance. So, because it will also help you to prioritize. Where you get the bigger bang for the buck, do that first.
Yep.
If this is going to be a self-financing, self-funded initiative, then figure out what you got to do, what it's going to cost, and then go to the other side and say, great, if we do this, we'll save so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. We'll move that budget over, and that'll support the program. Just those exercises are critically important.
Right. And you want to be careful with the ROI part. That's my only advice that I have on that.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the ROI on an asset, you have to understand the entire portfolio. That's why it goes to, again, analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
You look at everything, including all the processes. You start looking at, we start doing ROI on assets. Also say, okay, what's the cost of actually servicing them, et cetera, like that. People don't really talk like that anymore, right? They think about it, they assume it's just going to happen. But it's being able to further refine it. So I'm not saying you don't want to work on the ROI and that nature. Just realize that's a longer effort. That's not just done in a short period of time.
Somebody else's job. Yeah.
Well, you might be doing part of it, absolutely, but it's a joint effort. That's all I'm trying to say. Right?
Yes, that's the key point there.
About the normalization of the data cleanup.
Where do you want that?
I'm pretty sure this right now into the 60, we could be able to identify it, but we probably may not be able to do it until the 90 days.
Okay, got it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we're at the top of the hour again. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like there's so much more we could do too, but this is really enough of a list to get just about anybody started in this kind of an effort.
It is, and hopefully everyone's saying kind of we're brainstorming a little. We're saying, okay, what needs to be within these different areas?
Yeah.
And as you're looking at this, as you keep hearing, okay, there's more and more and more. You're going to have your own constraints.
Yeah.
You are, and that's okay. But also be aware that from a constraint perspective, it's not about you're not good enough. It's just about there's only so much of you that can go around.
Right.
And you have to make sure you keep your stakeholders informed. One thing that's not in here, we talk about governance. We don't really talk about our overall, because governance meetings / stakeholder meetings may be two different meetings, not just one. And you need to make sure that they're informed. That's extremely critical as you go through this. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a.
What about reconciliations
Oh yeah.
and entitlements?
It's digging into the software, asset management stuff. It's 16 to
Okay.
90 days.
And entitlement, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're totally separate activities. I just didn't want to put on separate lines.
Yeah.
But they're all very important as you go through this. So as we wrap up here at the top of the hour, oh my gosh, this is great. You're here in the masterclass, right? You're here. Okay, where do we start? How do we put that forward? This is kind of that little bit of a roadmap, right? This is what management's going to be looking for. These are things that you're talking about. You're listening to experienced individuals talk about. Okay, how are we looking at this with the scenario and the use case we've been given, right? This will vary and depend upon customer. It's not just cookie cutter. This is it, right? And you may need more for other reasons. Maybe you have audits you're doing at the same time that needs to be in here, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yep. Curtis Paul, absolutely. That's a good point, Curtis. That is a great point. Normalization, reconciliation, entitlement are really data maturity topics. They are absolutely.
If specifically applied to data maturity, but these are also items that are they're related to and they're necessary for proper ITAM management as well.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up here, think about how you're doing it within your own environment, wherever you are today. Kind of give you an example in this case. We've been doing it for 3 days now. On Monday, we're going to actually use this format, what we just used. We're going to do a totally different use case starting Monday morning.
Yep.
And totally different scenario, et cetera. We'll talk through that. And you're going to hear us collaborate and discuss. If you want to be part of the discussion, hey, give us a heads up. We're going to have you on as well. It is because when we start learning, this is where you learn, right? Because the one thing I have to say I've learned about asset management is I learned that it's not cookie cutter. You can collaborate, you have a lot of alignment, but you have to work with the business, right? The business need and how they're working and operating. And when you have, and everyone said, well, we're going to burn a brand new system, brand new process, it's going to go green. It's like, great, you still need to figure out what they're doing today. And the executive's like, well, no, we're going to throw it all out. It's like, you going to fire everybody?
Sure.
I get that. Well, it's like, okay, is that what you're going to do? Right? It's not something that AI is going to fix, as an example, right? This is a human element, and this is what we've been talking about for a couple of days. So we have a format, we're going to use it, we're going to hold a whole different discussion start up, but we have the framework in place in order for us to build upon. And that's the best part about what we've done this week. We leveraged use cases. Again, it was a use case, absolutely. A lot of realities behind all of them, every bit of it. And trust me, we could do use cases galore, like one per day, right? And never get where we need to. So that's the important part about going through exciting activities like this, right? We're going to run environments and scenarios all the time. Whether you're an existing asset manager or going to a new job, doesn't matter. You're going to run into this and how you further collaborate with that. So, any final thoughts, Rob?
Yeah. When this comes to you, right? The main principles of start where you are and start with what you have. Those, are some of the best places to start from. And so, for the purpose of this exercise, we were able to identify many of those things, which we're just trying to find what we have, and to actually look at the team members, and then the activities that follow on after that, is just follow suit, identify the gaps, come up with a plan to address, figure out what it's going to cost, how long it takes to implement, and then that's it. There's your roadmap. It begins. It sort of like trickles out from there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And with the collaboration, that's where you understand, are people really talking to each other?
Yeah.
What are their needs? And sometimes they're saying the same thing, but they're looking at a different area. Yeah, and that's really important to get everybody on board. That's why we talk to stakeholders. We need to educate everybody, each within their own fields, and then see how they merge together.
So, absolutely, that collaboration is key. And to bring that all to a point, that's the idea behind this, right? Asset management, software asset management, configuration management, different disciplines use very similar techniques for different reasons, right? Being able to further clarify how you do that within the organization is key, right? Being that facilitator and the rock as you do this is extremely critical as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be reactionary on it, you don't need more drama. You've got enough already. You're walking into it, right? But being able to further refine that is huge. So do that. Think about it. Think about how you can do it with whatever you're doing today. That's my challenge for you. Think about how you take these techniques, and we're using use cases. Think about how you can use these techniques to whatever you're doing today. And if you're not doing anything, why not? Well, I don't have time. Really? Or do you have? What happens if you make time for it? Do you further improve what you're doing? That's the ITAM kitchen for this week. Thank you. We're going to have a whole new scenario on Monday morning. One will be 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll go back live again. And Deanna and Rob are going to be joining me because the whole idea is we love doing this. So we're going to help you share information. So everyone have yourself a great week, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thanks, folks.
So long.